All right, I think we're live. So we're going to continue our testing for the Dwarfs versus High Elves. So I started doing this testing today. I was really brought on by some calculations I was doing where I found that in a calculation that basic Dwarf Warriors with great weapons would lose to High Elf Spearmen in my calculation, and then I wanted to really test it, and sure enough, they lose every time to Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. So I wanted to do some more testing just to kind of continue along the line of figuring out some more things, and I thought, well, I'm just going to do a full battery of infantry testing because on High Elves, because I think this is an area where there are some secrets to be revealed, there are some things to be learned, and some of the sort of the best Dowie players out there have similar backlines, and when it comes to Trollhammer torpedoes are really the pick and some of the Slayers, etc., but have very different front lines. And I thought this type of testing would reveal some key units or maybe key configurations or key ideas. Even though this type of testing doesn't get everything, maybe it can show us some places we can look for interesting infantry configurations or choices for the Dwarfs versus the High Elves. So, so far we've gotten through. I'm going to test every single Dwarf infantry unit, including Regiments of Renown, against Spearmen, White Lions of Trace, and Swordmasters of Hoeth. So then after that, I'm going to look for potential chevron efficiency. So maybe there's a unit somewhere that if it's at 4 chevrons, it does really, really good in multiple situations. Similar to what I did with the Lizardmen. So we'll find something like that. Now, so far we found that, let me see, seconds per gold. Let's do the plus here. So, for example, the basic miners lose quite a bit of gold in this, but they lose it slow enough. So it costs 0.83. You get 0.83 seconds per gold spent of holding time against a spearman. The Dwarf Warriors with great weapons get 0.87 seconds per gold spent, and the miners with blasting charges for some reason only get 0.77. I guess their 400 gold in this case outweighs the 300 gold of the basic miners. But I think this is the Dwarf Warrior we're going to find gets a very good value. I don't think the Dwarf Warrior will win. In the calculation, the Dwarf Warrior did not win, but that's sort of where I'm going to start the testing with the Dwarf Warriors, basic Dwarf Warriors against the High Elf Spearmen. Now, they're very close in gold, 50 gold apart. Now, you would think the Dwarf Warriors would have an edge here because High Elf Spearmen do have that anti-large, and they have a silver shield as opposed to a bronze shield. They have less armor, etc. But my calculation shows that they should win. So let's go and find that out. Okay, where do we got over here? Okay, so I got the Spearmen. Where are we? Oh, almost in the wrong place. And I got a brand new mouse, which is really awesome. It has like one of those scroll wheels. You just zip and it keeps on scrolling. So I'm really enjoying that. So we're on UT Unit Testing Fields, which is a mod, and we have Pick Any General for this. So let's start that fight. And we'll start taking the data and see where the basic Dwarf Warriors show up in the Pantheon. And then we'll have everything tested complete up to Longbeards with great weapons. So, okay. And boom. So what do we got? 5951, I'm going to call that. 51. And we're testing that here. All right. So, and what I do for my testing, if anyone hasn't seen this type of testing before, is I don't change the formation of the units. Now, formations has a big effect on how units interact in a melee combat or in any type of combat in this game, with the exception of single model entities. There is no formation to be had, but I have done a set of formation tests quite some time ago, and I did a chart of sort of what happens when units fight units and what the formations do, so that I don't have to do formation testing here, because it's actually quite hard. You need to have two computers, and you need to stretch both units out to full and everything else like that. This way, I just do it so the testing is super repeatable, because the unit is always in their base formation, and then year over year I can go back and look at my testing and see any changes that have occurred and what effect they've had. So looks like the Dwarf Warriors, basic Dwarf Warriors, might win this. Well, Spearman the basic Dwarf Warriors are going to win this. The calculation that I did today showed the Spearman winning. So I'm going to have to go back and look at that calc. Because the Spearmen are going to lose their martial prowess very, very quickly, and then the Dwarf Warriors are going to demolish them. The Dwarf Warriors are what, 2,900? They're not at half health yet. And now the Spearmen are. So the Spearmen are about to lose bad for the rest of the way. Yeah, so the Dwarf Warriors are at plus 400. Yeah, well, how about that? So the Dwarf Warriors are going to win. So that's actually really interesting. That tells you right there, they're going to win, and they're going to pull value out of it. So you're going to watch play. Really have to watch their the leadership for the Spearmen, because I don't want to miss this data point. This goes so slow when I get this. I'll change after this test. I'll change which side everyone's on, so this doesn't happen. This is like when your side is going to lose. You have to pause it very, very quickly after the leadership goes negative, or the test just stops and it flips to the end screen and you don't get any of your data. It's super irritating. There we go. Okay, so looks like the Dwarf Warriors have won pretty handily. So that's actually good news. So we already found an Optome. We don't even have to think about that. If we want a unit to deal with Spearmen now already, it's going to be, we know Dwarf Warriors are going to look good. We'll do the rest of the test, but 5111. Now it takes them forever, but 5111, like that took almost 9 minutes. But it doesn't matter. You have 450 gold tied up for 9 minutes, and the High Elves have 500 gold tied up for 9 minutes. So it's irrelevant at that point. So this looks like Dwarf Warriors is going to be a really good value here. Dwarf Warriors 1787, and the High Elf Spearmen 644. So when I did, this funny thing, when I did my calculation, I couldn't do it correctly for half with martial prowess and half without. So the half with it showed that they were going to win, but I guess even there they don't win. So interesting. So I pulled 131 gold out of that, which is really, really strong. So I'm going to concede that, and we're going to go to the next. I'm going to actually switch them around so that I don't have to stop it, or don't have to watch that last a little bit. Yeah, they won like 2-1 kills, 73 kills to 37. Very good. Okay, so and when I mean switch them around, I'll put the Dwarf Warriors on this side, and I'll put the High Elves on this side, so that I don't have to worry about stopping it early. Okay, 450, 500. All right. So there we go. And Dwarf Warriors do have charged defense against large. They don't slow down. The problem is they don't slow down chariots a whole lot. But I mean they do it as good as miners. But they have like 150 mass. Whereas Longbeards, one of the reasons why Longbeards are strong is they have 200 mass, so they'll slow down chariots a little bit more, just waddling through them. But this is really good. So, I mean, if we were to stop the testing right here, I mean, I don't think I have in any of my builds, or I don't think I've even seen in any builds, basic Dwarf Warriors. So this might be an idea, is if you're going to bring a build, having 2 Dwarf Warriors sort of on your back line, your reinforcements, and something to stop rear charges and stuff like that might be good. And if you do see 2 Spearmen or 5 Spearmen, you bring those Dwarf Warriors to the front line and you just let them fight for the whole fight, and you move your normal front line to reinforcements or something like that. That's the whole idea of finding these yeah, you can see the spearmen are actually winning by health here. So if I click on the Dowee and the spearmen, the spearmen have more health. Yeah, now they have less health. So you see the dwarves are starting to pull away now. Now they're really going to pull away now that the martial mastery is gone. Martial prowess is gone. So it was probably pretty close until that halfway health mark, and now the dwarf warriors are really going to pull away. Well, actually, it wasn't even close then. Spearmen have 19 kills. The dwarf warriors have 57. So I always kind of in my head as a rule of thumb, I think 50 armor is about the transition between armor piercing being better than regular weapon strength. And you can see, I mean, high elves have 40 armor, and dwarf warriors are doing really good, and longbeards did outstanding against spearmen as well in terms of value. 52-55, that went faster. Whoops. 51, 52, 55. That went much faster. Dwarf warriors, 21.95, and spearmen, 754. 152 gold they pulled out of that. Very, very good. And a win. The thing is, they pull out gold and they win, so that's a excellent value. In battle and rematch. So I think that when I look at how that testing is going to go out, I mean, I already can tell dwarf warriors are going to be very strong in this one example. See, in basic dwarf warriors. So, I mean, here it is. We'll see how dwarf warriors with great weapons stack up against Swordmasters of Hoeth and White Lions of Trace. But if basic dwarf warriors stack up as reasonably, they're just it's a no-brainer pick for like a 2 of, and we'll see. Because they're so cheap. And they pull so much value against the spearmen. We'll see how long they hold, right? But already, like, what reason would you ever pick a dwarf warrior with great weapons over a dwarf warrior against a spearman? There's none. Because dwarf warriors win. Dwarf warriors with great weapons for an extra 50 gold lose all the time. So that's not to say dwarf warriors with great weapons don't have other uses. Like, they might be better against white lions, and they might be better against swordmasters. And they might be and they are definitely better against chariots and cavalry. So, you know, there are other uses. You can see here. Oh yeah, well, they're already taking them to town. Spearmen start with how much? 5,600, and dwarf warriors start with 5,800. So dwarf warriors do start with more health. So really, 5670, 58. So 200. They start with 200 more health. So anything. So the spearmen are catching up here. So it's close. Like you can see, this is actually pretty close. But the spearmen are going to lose their martial prowess at sort of 2,900, and then it's just a runaway train from there. And the dwarfs are getting very good kills too. Yeah, the martial prowess is gone, and now it's sort of a runaway freight train from here. You can see the health differential is rising pretty quickly. Yeah, we're already up to 300. I imagine it'll be 400 pretty fast here. Yeah, 400, 500, 600. Yeah. 700, there we go. So. Still takes forever though. It takes a very long time. This does not this is the wet noodle fight of the century. Well, not really. There's even more funny wet noodle fights in the game, but the dwarf warriors look like they are going to consistently win here. 51-42. Though it's going to take a long time. Dwarf warriors, 1868. Spearmen, 627. And a victory. And we'll get the gold for gold measure. We'll take a look at that because that's That's one of the ways to differentiate between overall value in terms of the total gold and the how much you had to spend to get that value. So we'll actually look at that number after this fight's done, because we want to be able to compare the Longbeards and to the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, because they both performed extremely well in terms of total gold, and we'll look at the kind of gold per minute, but the difference is the gold for gold value. Like, how much did you have to spend to get that savings? Because this is one of those places, like, Dwarf Warriors are just straight up cheaper than Spearmen. So, you don't have to spend much to get that gold. So you're sort of winning in every single way for every Dwarf Warrior you put on every Spearman. Yeah, it's funny, like the Spearmen pull that to, like, it keeps around that 200 mark. It goes like down to 0, 200. It's close. You can see the Spearmen do think they're winning from time to time when they have their martial prowess. Is it martial? Yeah, martial prowess. But it's 14 stat points. That is a lot of stats. Yeah, they got plus 10 stats. When they got martial prowess going, they'll have -2 when it turns off. And it should be turning off very, very soon. Yeah, there it goes. And then now it's just the runaway from here. The Dwarf Warriors got 40 kills. The Spearmen got 30. And now the Spearmen start with 90 as opposed to 75. So they start with 50 more models. But once it starts going, like once you get past that martial prowess being gone, I mean, the Dwarf Warriors would start to really dominate. I mean, it's not like you have a massive amount of health left, but you're the one. In that case, you'd be the owner of a unit that could still attack, move, and take orders, as opposed to the owner of a unit that was routing. So there's definite value in that. Well, this one's the closest one so far. There's no way. They think they're winning. This is really, really, really close. There we go. Stop. Okay, 50.05. That's 50.05. Yeah, nearly 10. That's not. Yeah, is that nearly 10 minutes? That is. It started at 59.51. Almost 10 minutes. Wasn't exactly a thrilling battle, but the right side won. 840 health left for the Dwarfs, and 519 for the Spearmen. Yeah, the gold ratio is what I was talking about. Gold for gold. What's the gold ratio? I just want to look at this. Longbeards, sort of 37. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, 37. Longbeard's a great weapon, 16. So the gold ratio is not the greatest. Longbeard's a great weapon. And these guys we're looking at 30-ish so far. We'll see where that ends up. All right. The Dwarf Warriors win off the start. It could be because they have a charge bonus of 12 versus the Spearman charge bonus of 4. Because it looks like the Dwarf Warriors always kind of win off the start, and then the Spearmen sort of take it back. Because the Spearmen are in the plus quite a bit. Could be. They both have 22 melee attack, so fatigue is not going to affect their attack. Really, what starts to matter pretty quickly is that armor. That armor makes quite a big difference. Work boss, hey. Yes, I did finish. I just got off a call with the missus. So It was good, so time to get back and test. I really want to see how things go. It looks like the Dwarf Warriors are kicking the crap out of the Spearmen, so which is awesome. Really interesting. In the calculation I had, the Dwarf Warriors lost to the Spearmen. But in the calculation I did, I had the Spearmen's martial prowess stats for the whole time. Well, you can see the Spearmen are winning pretty solidly right now. Maybe they're going to win this one. We'll see. They're winning by 700 health, and they still got their martial prowess. Well, here we go. It looks like they're running away with it right now. This is the first time this has happened. I don't know if the Dwarf Warriors will catch up. They're down 1,000 health. No, they're not going to catch up. There's no way. Wow. See, this looks like my calculation, but they've kept their martial prowess for the whole time. Now it's finally gone. I don't know if that'll... Yeah, see, it looks like the Dwarf Warriors want to come back and win. But the Spearmen have too big of a lead. Like, the Spearmen have over 1,000 health lead. Now the Dwarf Warriors are winning. Well, it's close. But I don't know if they're going to have enough models to come back. This is going to be close. Nah. The High Elves win. The High Elves are going to win. Okay, I'm just going to go slow here, so I make sure I don't lose my data point. Because this is more like the way that the calculation that I did went. So with the High Elf Spears winning, but they had their martial prowess the whole time, because the calculation I didn't do like half and half. I didn't really know how to split it. I just did as though they always had martial prowess. There we go. So there we go. So Dwarfs lost. So 49-46. A full 10 minutes this took. So it's not like they lost fast. 49-46. They fought for 10 minutes. Like, there's hardly any battles you ever see that last longer than 10 minutes. That's hilarious. 566 for the Dwarf Warriors. And the Spearmen finished with 1264. And that is a loss for the Dowie. Okay. Rematch. Same thing as Greatswords. There's a world of difference between 95 and 100 armor. There is. You know, like, so this is one of the big differences in value. Like you do the calculation with non-armor piercing units, and this 85 armor is good, but you compare that to 100 armor. What a difference! It really is pretty significant. Like and then once it's over 100, then you start, you know, you're diminishing returns, because there's no difference between a calc with 99 armor and a calc with 150 armor in terms of the maximum mitigation. I mean, the average and minimum mitigations change, but not the maximum. So you have a bit of a diminishing returns once you get over 99 armor. See, the Dwarfs are winning very, very handily here, and we're still under martial prowess, because they start with 200 more health, and they right now have 400 more. Well, we'll see. Back down to 300. Yeah, it's been floating around 300 here. 300 back to 400, 300. But once that martial prowess goes, then it's just that runaway freight train will start going. Yeah, 600. Well, if they get into martial 700, oh, this is going to be a bad loss for the High Elves. If they're sitting at 600 now, they've lost their martial prowess. At 700, it'll go up to 800 really quick. Okay, so this seems fair. They cost the same. Well, no, actually, Dwarf Warriors are cheaper than Spearmen. Dwarf Warriors are 450, Spearmen are 500. Now, Dwarf Warriors with Great Weapon lose every time to Spearmen, and Dwarf Warriors Great Weapon are 500. So, the basic Dwarf Warriors is a pretty good value against Spearmen. Dwarf Warriors' Great Weapon is a very bad value. And they both don't do damage, so they just sit there. Yeah, that's true. They just sit there inside it's like a wet noodle fight. I think that's the right description. 53. The thing is, if you got a dwarf warrior up against a spearman, yes, they'll fight for the entire match, but you're getting that fight. You're gonna win that fight, which I guess probably won't matter as far as how the game goes. But you essentially have 450 gold tying down 500 gold, so you win the gold battle too. Not only are you gonna win that fight, you win the gold battle. So 26-33. Very good performance there. Against 717. 189 gold they pulled that time. So it looks like the High Elf Spears can win against base Dwarf Warriors, but not very frequently. The RNG favors the Dowie. That's why I never use Dwarf Warriors or Great Weapons. I don't think they perform better. No, Dwarf Warriors with Great Weapons, Miners, and Longbeards with Great Weapons are just not that good in melee. They're okay against cavalry and chariots, but they're not good in melee against anything actually, pretty much, with the exception of with a few exceptions where you find like special rules and stuff. Like the Dwarf Warriors with Great Weapons actually do very good against the Spearmen, but they do really good against the Spearmen because of that health versus damage differential. It hits like a sweet spot. Oh wow! So the Dwarf Warriors are taking a nice little lead here. Actually, they're doing really, really well. 500, kind of floating around. If they hit that, you see the last time they started, they got through the martial prowess at the 600 health mark and they crushed them. It looks like they might even be able to do better. Well, they're still floating around 600 health. Oh, coming down to 500. So the high elves are pulling it back. they're trying to make it exciting. But I don't know. I think the dwarfs have pulled too far ahead on this particular fight. Back up to 600, and that martial prowess is going to be gone pretty quick here. Oh, down to 400 and 500. 400. Now the martial prowess is gone. So they finished with 2,600 at 6. So maybe they'll finish with like 22 to 2,400 health at Dwarf Warriors. Rook Boss. This comes back to combat basis. Axe and board beats spears. So it does, and it should. But that's where a Dwarf Warrior with a great weapon at 500 gold should beat a spear with a silver shield at 500 gold for sure, but it doesn't. That's why Dwarf Warriors just underperform. Dwarf Warriors with great weapons underperform. And that's just demonstrable. And now, High Elf Spears are good, but High Elf Spears don't need to be nerfed. Dwarf Warriors with great weapons need to be buffed. Okay, 52-26. Because I think High Elf Spearmen are where they belong. They're a good spear unit for sure. 52-26. 2404. But they're not really too far out of bounds, I don't think. And Spearman 830. So there we go. So 86% win. Pulled 117 gold on average. Seconds per gold. Well, the seconds per gold is really good. And we knew it would be. It's over 1, which is actually excellent. So even if they lose, even the one they lost, they held them for over 10 minutes. So it's actually really, really strong. So, I mean, that basic Dwarf Warrior against a High Elf Spearman is a good holding unit. Now, will they be good against White Lions or Swordmaster's Hoeth? I don't know. We're going to have to do that test. But they performed very, very well in that first one. So what do we got? Ekron Miners. Right. So Ekron Miners... How am I going to test them? In battle. I'm just trying to think of which would be the better way to test Ekron Miners. Do I test it versus them? Okay. It comes back. Well, that's actually the fact. Yeah, two-handed axes will lose to spears in a real battle. Two-handed axes will not lose to a dwarf. The dwarf two-handed axe will not lose to a piddly spear in a real battle. Dwarf would really kill an elf in a real battle. Sorry to tell you, Rourke boss. It's just the way it is. Time to go to school right now, son. Dwarfs always win. That's something people need to learn in this world. All right. But yeah, spears are awesome. In battle, I don't know why anyone uses swords. A sword can't do anything versus a spear. Axes are obviously axes and hammers have their purpose, but you know, spears are a very, very efficient weapon, and they're efficient for production because they only need a stick and a small piece of steel. So spears are, in real life, spears are pretty freaking awesome, and spears and halberds, but you know, in this world, axes are the best. All right, so continue. How am I going to do Ekron miners? Do I just do the fight and see? So let's just do the fight and we'll see how Ekron miners do. I'm not going to be able to charge because I want to get off my mines. Okay, so. And I'm going to want to leave them as they are. Okay. What are these guys doing? Okay. 59.54. That was really a weird thing that they just did there. 59.54. Okay. So no charge, but I did click on them. Will this make a difference? Yeah. So Ekron miners have 26, 31 and 26, plus their armor piercing. But they only got off, you know, sort of one charge. I don't know. I don't know if I'm happy with that test. Okay, 56-14. 56-14. Ekron miners, 34-19. And High Elf Spearmen, 1172. Okay, and that's a win. So let's, I'm going to switch this around to let the AI play the miners, and we'll see how that works. They're the best weapon adopted across the entire world in Cold Army, period. Spears are pretty good, but elf spears are not very good because they're held by elves. That's the problem, right? It's just these are facts of life. All right, so we'll put the spears here. I'm going to put the Ekron miners here, and we'll just see how hard that is to catch the end of the fight. Yeah, I don't think they're like you can see why old Roman swords were so short, right? Aside from, you know, maybe being a little bit easier to wield. I mean, it's hard to make a lot of swords, but you know, you take one sword and you can make like 10 spears out of it. Okay, let's see how this goes. 59-52. Okay. Yeah. We'll just let that play out, and we'll see where it ends up. Like again, they probably got the equivalent of one blasting charge off. The Ekron miners, if they get all 3 blasting charges off, can make up their entire cost with just their blasting charges, easily. That they are a little harder to use. Hey Gala, how's it going? Good to see you. Just doing some testing here, the High Elves versus the Dowie. Just trying to sort out what are sort of some of the best Dowie frontline units to bring. I think that the High Elves will probably route around 1,000 health. So we'll just press play. I can't remember exactly where it was. Was it around 1,000? Whoops. Yeah, I'm just watching very closely to try and make sure I don't miss it. I hate it when I miss a data point because I don't press pause fast enough. It's very irritating. There we go. Okay. 5507. That actually took a long time. 55.7. Ekron Miners finished with 1890. And Spearman finished with 717. And Ekron Miners won again. So I think I'm going to go back to the other way. And Gaba to throw Longbeards with great weapons at the spears. They don't even lose models. Yeah, I know I did. Didn't I test that for you already? My friend, you did a whole bunch. And you did the Longbeards with great weapons and a whole bunch of the hammers, right? And you did some with the Horn of Vengeance and the buff. Which buff was it? Which buff was it? I can't remember off the top of my head. It was a Runesmith. Was it the Rune of Negation? Oh, no, it wasn't the Runesmith. It was Thorgrim's +9 melee attack buff, I think. So, Ekron Miners. And you're right, the Longbeards with great weapons don't lose models for a little while. Then they start to lose models near the end. Once it gets going. So I've just finished that test about a couple hours ago. Okay, so Spearman. Okay, Ekron Miners. So, yep, Thorgrim. Yeah, that was it. So I'm just curious. I'm not actually going to do this test, but I'm curious if the Ekron Miners can get more than one blasting charge off if I spread them out, just for fun. Okay. I don't want to run. I don't want to. This is not taking data on this, but they really do a lot better when you put them in a line of 3, and they're going to do really good. Like, look at how badly they crush those spears, and they're going to get another set in. And you see, they've got basically the equivalent of 1.5. Are they going to throw some more? Yeah. You can see there they go. The Ekron Miners. Just when you spread them out and use their blasting charges, essentially they have a sort of half a blasting charge left. I'm going to call it 45, let's say, out of their 75 times 3, which is 150, 225. So they have like a quarter of their blasting charges left, and they routed a 500 gold unit. So blasting charges are worth about 200 gold a piece ish. It's kind of in and around there, and again they just show their worth. So in the battle. Whoops, I want to fight that. So those Ekron Miners, essentially you get it's almost like getting a free unit, because then once you're done with your blasting charges, they can also go fight. Because now, let's say I don't want to use any blasting charges, and I put them in melee mode. I don't think they win this, but just out of curiosity, let's see how they do. Plus. So it looks like the High Elves are winning. It's kind of going to show up this. It's going to show up the same. Gaba, have you any interest in making a video on my data? Yes, absolutely, absolutely going to do that. Plus, I have so many videos I have to make. It's unbelievable. I'm just doing some testing. This testing I'm just doing just to, just to chill. That sort of relaxes me to do testing like this. But yeah, I want to put together something where I can show that type of testing. It's a little bit different than my standardized testing because the formations are slightly different. But the idea is that you can pull some value out of that in certain situations. So Ekron miners, by themselves, no blasting charges, are sort of worth a half a spear. And then the blasting charges themselves are worth an entire spear. So you're worth 600 gold. You're getting 750 gold worth of a unit. Ish is what it's looking like to me. The thing that I really like about your testing, Gaba, is it's very thorough. It goes through the entire line to show the difference between the units, which is actually really nice. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. Yeah, it's got that. They do that same little weird little wiggle, which is just fine, I guess. So now, okay, and we'll get them fighting there. Hey, Gilbert. How's it going? Oh, they almost routed them right there. They almost routed those spearmen right there. Really, really close. Yeah, Ekron miners, Ekron miners are one of those units that if you have the micro skills to spare, they're just outstanding, because you'd put them, you'd take off fire at will, and you just use their blasting charges as in the correct places all the time. 5717. Whoops. What can we call that? 54. 5717. Yeah, they're going to be the results on this are going to be really swingy because of those blasting charges. So 3890. And the spearmen got 1169. 69. Yeah, the Ekron miners will win every one for sure. But it's really interesting. It'll be funny. It'll be fun to see how the Ekron miners do against not the White Lions, because they're not going to do great against the White Lions, because the White Lions have that loose formation. But I think they'll do pretty good against the Swordmasters of Hoeth. Gaba, Yo did a lot of formation adjustments in my test. Yeah, but the tests were you did a lot of tests as well. So your data is interesting, right? It's not just like something random. Okay. Okay, shoot and... Okay. What do you think of Longbeards with great weapons after my test? I don't think you ever believed they could beat Chaos Warrior with great weapons. So, Longbeards with great weapons are still very weak. They are very weak in melee, in a straight up engagement. But of course, they can be buffed up to perform at a better rate, which is the same as every unit in the game. I mean, you can buff them. Now, when you look at, usually what I do is try and look at the straight up performance, which is why I look at just the great weapons versus just the Longbeards versus just the Chaos Warriors. Because the Chaos Warriors can be buffed up as well, right? I mean, there's all sorts of ways to buff up Chaos, just like you can buff up your Dwarfs. Now, who has the easier time putting down buffs? I'm going to say probably the Dowie, There are a few good chaos buffs too, but you're probably not going to put them on the chaos warriors. You're probably going to put them on your cavalry or your chosen or stuff like that. So, it's like you can make them perform at a lot higher level for sure, but their base package is still pretty weak. So 56, 54, 56, 54. Yeah, and so when you look at sort of how everything fleshes out, it's the reason the best thing I like about your testing, Gaba, is that it shows the difference between those buffs, which is actually the most interesting part, because you actually did a really good job of separating how the buffs are measured. So it's interesting when you look at the Horn of Krygor, the basic unit, and the buff from Thorgrim. You can actually see the difference between the buffs and the base package. And I think that's the most interesting thing, because you not only did it across Longbeards, you did it across Hammers too, and you also did it across a number of units to show how that differential flows through different units in terms of their defense and their armor and their ability to attack back, which I think is the most interesting part of that set of tests. Is there's a really clear set of pictures between the values, and I think that's what I'll make a video on, is really show how that difference flows, because that's the interesting part. I did a test something like that a very long time ago, but I didn't use the Horn of Vengeance. I used all of the Runesmith buffs. So I used the Rune of Negation. I used I can't remember the Rune of Oath and Steel, and the Rune of I used the one that increases your armor piercing damage, the one that increases your armor, and the one that gives you the ward save. And I looked at all of those, and I also looked at them with the Grumbling Guard buffing to show the difference in actual value of those units, which I think that's the most interesting part, because people can see for themselves what the difference in those values are, and then they can make those evaluations, because when you bring the Horn of Vengeance, you also have to pay for a Thane and end up having your Thane in the right place as well. So, they can make that evaluation and say, oh, well, the Horn of Vengeance actually can do something. And, but you have to bring your Thane in order to do that, right? So the best part of the buffs they tested, Thorgrim and the Thane are frontline units, not afraid to enter battle. They can make such a big difference. And I agree with you. And what you're seeing in some of the games that I've cast, I don't know if you watched that last game, Zach Bisane brought the Dwarfs against the Greenskins, where he brought a Thorgrim build and really high on the buffs, and he brought a Runesmith as well. But it's showing exactly what you're talking about, is that they really can make a pretty big impact. And Shetland Apache was on earlier, and he was talking about Thorgrim as a competitive pick as well for those buffs when you get them sort of in the Dowie Death Star, right? 5640, 4016. 4016. 1163. Okay, and victory. 220 gold. Like, they're pulling good gold. This is a hard unit to measure in terms of value. Same with miners with blasting charges. Like, they are actually pretty difficult. The way that I do my testing, they're hard to measure. Like, I think you'd have to do it in a different way to really get the full value of them, but yeah, I wonder why those guys do that. That seems kind of weird. But it is what it is. Doesn't really matter. I think, when I report out the testing, the Ecker miners don't get off all their blasting charges, but, that's why I wanted to do one where they do their blasting charges and one where they do with no blasting charges, just out of curiosity to see where they land up. And you can see, like, the Eckern miners can rout the entire unit of spearmen with just blasting charges, not even all of them. But the Eckern miners with no blasting charges used at all lose to spearmen. So, but they still get some value out of it. So they're probably worth, as a unit, about 750 gold is what that showed. compared to the 600 gold you pay. 5633. And 44112. 1195. And you can see this gold's going to measure out like 180, so it will put them with that 750, 800 mark as well. Just by the way the testing is going as well. Okay. Oh, I should put this here. Copy. And V. Gaba. Also, Thorgrim is a lord, so you don't lose anything by bringing him, and the Thane is dirt cheap for a hero. Thane is not bad for the price, and you bring him with just the horn. He's actually what? Is he 600 base? Is his base price 600? It's around there. And I think that horn is 70, so you could bring him on the field for 680, 670, something like that. The Thane, you know, he's hard. Like he's not really good against a lot of things, but against chaff, he's not bad. You know. He can actually get some value against chaff. So 5633. Let me check. Okay, that's done. Rematch. Man, I would so like to see like a full set of things. Like, you know, when you look at Empire, they have one magician for every lore of magic, and you look at Vampire Coast, and they have a lord for every lore of magic, plus a hero for every lore of magic. I don't see why you couldn't have a Thane with every, you know, weapon. You could have an axe and board Thane, a two-handed axe Thane, a two-handed hammer Thane, and a dual wielding axe Thane that could all do different things. You know, like you could do a lot of interesting things with a Thane, which they do all the time with lords and heroes that are sort of your generic. I don't know why we couldn't do that with a Thane. It would be super easy to do, and then you could have like a bunch of different ideas for a Thane, where maybe a axe and shield Thane could really be your defensive Thane and your aura Thane, whereas your two-handed hammer Thane, maybe he's your single target debuff Thane. And then maybe your two-handed axe Thane is your single, like he's just your single target attack guy, armor piercing, anti-large, and maybe your dual wielding axe Thane is like your anti-infantry. You could have a whole bunch of interesting things very, very easily. They could really do a good job with it if they wanted to. 5719, 4172. And 1117. Okay, one. Okay, end that battle and rematch. Yeah, so I've seen them like on the Warhammer forums. They talk a lot about footlords, and obviously the Dowie come up a lot when you get into that footlord conversation. But usually the footlords start talking around Grimgor, because Grimgor Ironhide, I think I'm really, you know, even though he's a greenskin, I'm happy for him in the game because he demonstrates how bad footlords are. Yet in the dwarf lineup, he'd be better than average because he has Wa. Like if you had Grimgor as a dwarf with his kit, let's say I don't know, Grombrindle had Grimgor's kit and he had an ability exactly like Wa, that'd be the only character you would bring. Yet on the greenskin lineup, he's terrible. I mean, that's the difference. And that's why I kind of like that Grimgor's there, because he really does show people how bad footlords are. So if footlords ever really get a strong look, that's when the Dowie footlords will get a strong look. Now, there are some footlords that are good, like Skrulk. It's good. You know, like, but you got to look at what Skrulk can do. Skrulk can do a ton of stuff. He has a lot of abilities. You know, and you look at what's the Beastman Lord on foot. I can never remember his name, but he's really good too. Has 2 summons, and he has regeneration, has a lot of things for a footlord. You know, and you know, there's a few other footlords that are actually quite good. Not many, but they are there. you got to look to those footlords as the example to make other footlords really good, I think. 5702. Because you can do footlords well. There are some great footlords in this game. 3863. Just has to be a will to do it. Spearman 1116. And win. So pulled an average of 185 gold at 60. See, this is where they pull it really fast. 62 gold per minute. So has that been the fastest? No, not quite as fast as the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass pulled that gold value pretty fast though. Okay, so what's the next unit? Slayers. All right, so Slayers it is. It'll be interesting to see how Slayers do. Okay, exit and battle, because I'm curious. Slayers should do not too bad against Spearmen, because Slayers don't have a lot of armor piercing damage. I wonder how the Thane would do. I'm just going to take a base Thane and put him up against Spearmen, see if he can beat him. Just out of curiosity while we're talking about it. The Thorgrim's Dowey army lives on synergy. Yep. Thane should not be used in their own, but to support a unit. Yep. Yeah, footlords need to do much more than now to be useful. I agree. That's 100%. You're absolutely right. But Thorgrim is great since his passive buffs are so powerful. The enemy has to come to them. So that's the beauty of Thorgrim. His buffs are powerful. So you can make a competitive build with Thorgrim. The problem that I find with like footlords and Thanes and stuff is they lose so easily to infantry, just base infantry. Now maybe the Thane can beat this group of spearmen. The Thane is what was his cost? We're just gonna fast forward, but I doubt it. Usually, footlords can't beat like even one group of infantry. And these are anti-large, and he's not large, obviously, and they don't have armor piercing. Maybe he wins. I don't know. We'll see if he can beat a group of spearmen out of curiosity. Well, it looks like he could do it. $14 kills so far. What do you think of my cannon? That cannon bolt thrower testing is excellent, Gaba. It's actually really, really interesting, and it's strong because I think it's really strong because it shows the value differential, right? Because that's where people often don't understand when you do testing is that value proposition. Because you can look at how much damage, like a cannon's awesome because it do a ton of damage. But once you start looking at the value proposition between a cannon and a bolt thrower, that's when you start seeing the difference. Looks like a Thane's going to beat these spearmen. So a Thane is what, 600 and some? And he has... going to have more than 1,500 health left. It'll be close. Yeah. He's doing pretty good, actually. Because it's funny, is whenever I play... so he has more than half health left. And he beat those spearmen off. It's funny, is because I usually... if I'm playing with a Rune Lord and a Runesmith, if I do get like a weak unit in that front line, I will throw them in a fight. But you got to be really damn careful with them. Because if you get the wrong unit in there, if you get them in against like a armor piercing units, they just get crushed. They just get beat up so bad. Okay, let's get some Slayers. Slayers versus Spearmen. Yeah, I think that I know Aurora Boss likes bolt throwers as well for their utility, and the testing that you did, Gaba, shows where that utility is actually where the value is derived. Yep. No, I know exactly. I've done tests kind of like that, but haven't done them as thoroughly as you have. So what your test shows is that value proposition, because that's easy to get caught up in the total damage, but you got to look at how much damage it's doing versus how much it costs. which is why your testing actually is quite nice. It shows that differential. And 5950. Call that 50. I'm definitely interested to see how the Slayers do in all three of these battles. I know they're not going to win value, but how long can they hold? They should be able to beat the Spearmen because the Spearmen only have 40 armor. Maybe they will. I don't know. Slayer 38 melee attack. Well, yeah, I think they're going to win that. But I'm interested to see how the Slayers are going to do in terms of how long they can hold that front line. Because it may, like, in the back of my mind, I think it may be possible to have a front line of 4 Slayers against the High Elves. And just let them hold that front line while your back line goes to work, because they will keep holding that line. They won't give up. And they'll. So I want to look at the amount of time they last for. Then the custom HE build. I liked it. So the High Elves, though, my experience has been, and this is a Rorka boss, turned me on to Troll Hammers. And ever since I started playing with Troll Hammers, I mean, they're so damn good. And they're so nice to use in that back line, the way everything goes. Now, when we get through the HE build, yeah, I haven't looked at those. I got them downloaded. I haven't looked at them yet. The 2 extra you sent, because you sent a defensive and an offensive build. I haven't looked through those yet. I mean, I've got oh my god, I bet you I have 50 replays I have to look at. I have so much stuff sitting in my inbox. So I'm going to look. 5748. So these guys kill them fast. So 5748. 5748. 102 minutes. That's not bad. 5748. 2 minutes. Slayers got how much health left? 4294. And Spearmen, 1081. Huh. Well, how about that? The Slayers actually pulled positive value against the Spearmen. That can't be right. 5748, 4294, 1081. Yeah, it is right. Okay, well, that is interesting. I thought the Slayers would lose value in that, because they obviously have 0 armor, and the Spearmen are not armor piercing, so they would pull a little more value. But I guess they actually die pretty fast to Slayers. And Slayers actually pull positive value. Like, they still have a lot of health left. Now let's see if they do that again. Yeah, they're winning. Slayers got a big charge bonus, 26. Yeah, they're constant. These guys feel like they're losing. It's a defensive and offensive battle. Sadly, I don't really have a pure gunline army yet. Yeah, so I think gunlines. I've seen a few builds out there now of like real heavy gun lines or heavy ranged. They're really interesting as far as dwarf builds goes. I could never play one. I don't have the skills to play one like that. 5732. 7. Slayers 3870. Not as much value there. 3870. Spearmen 1058. Still positive value. That's not too bad. I'm surprised the Slayers are doing so well against the Spearmen. Gaba, so what do you think of hammers? They're so strong with hammers are good. I mean, I've never thought hammers were bad. I mean, lots of people do. Like, even before they were buffed with health on the last patch, with the testing I do always shows that they're really good. They're good value for money at 1100 gold. I mean, they beat up Bestigors, they beat up Black Orcs, and they beat the crap out of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. Hammers are great. I've always thought they were great. You buff them up, they're even better. and you can put a lot of buffs on hammers because you can use your extra runes, like the rune with the armor piercing buff. You can use like every buff you put on them. You can use a full, like when you're using Longbeards that have 48 melee defense, and you put on whatever that defensive buff is that adds 36 melee defense, you don't get it all, but you do get it all when you put that onto hammers. Like hammers are a really great unit. Like Slayers are actually even better for buffs because you can give Slayers 90 armor if you give them both your Rune of Oath and Steel and your Master Rune of Oath and Steel, 16. So Slayers with 90 armor are scary. They're really, really good. 5750. Um, 3730. I'm really surprised at how these Slayers are performing against the Spears. 1041. Because they're pulling positive value. Even the ones where it's closer, they're still pulling positive value. They killed Swordmaster and Chosen in my testing. Yeah, when you had the charge and the charge and Thorgrim's bonus, +9 melee attack, and really makes a difference. The thing is, hammers have a lot of weapon strength. I mean, I don't know if there's any unit that has more weapon strength than hammers. As far as basic infantry goes, I don't think. I'm pretty sure Chosen don't have as much weapon strength as hammers. Hammers have like 55 weapon strength. Chosen are good, but they're not that high. And even like Saurus warriors, who are renowned for their weapon strength, only have 52, I think, 50 or 52, and hammers have a 55. Like hammers are a good unit, I think. I've always thought they're a good unit. They have actually pretty good mass too. They're like 170 mass. The thing is, they don't have immune to psychology, which that bothers a lot of people, including me. And they can get terror outed, which is bothersome. But it is what it is. 5733. Can't have everything, right? Slayers 3978. Spearmen 1125. Huh. 1. So, yep, Slayers are just pounding out the value against Spearmen. Huh. Best unit confirmed. I think hammers are better than a lot of people give them credit for. I know that, like, for some reason they got a lot of flack, but hammers have always been pretty good. And they're really receptive. Like, as you note, they are very receptive to buffs. Whereas you look at miners, basic miners have been always really, really bad in an infantry fight. Dwarf warriors with great weapons are significantly better in terms of their overall value, but dwarf warriors with great weapons lose straight up to spearmen. These spearmen are 500 gold, dwarf warriors with great weapons are 500 gold, and dwarf warriors lose. And, spearmen are anti-large, and they have a silver frickin' shield, and they have charge defense against large, and they still beat dwarf great weapon infantry. So that's how bad dwarf warriors with great weapons are. And dwarf warriors with great weapons are better than miners, and they're better than longbeards with great weapons. So that kind of gives you a feel of where they're at. 5738. 5738. High elf spears are good though. I mean, but dwarf warriors with great weapons need to be better. They really do. 5738. Okay. Slayers finished with 3659. And these guys finished with 960. 960. Only 24 gold, but the Slayer's still pulling positive gold. And that's what matters. So that's really interesting. I mean, the danger of bringing too many Slayers in this matchup is a lot of high elves will bring 2 archers, sometimes up to 4. If you got 4 archers, your Slayers are dead. True, but hammers are cheaper and get massively better with proper support. True. Swordmaster is just so OP buffed already. Swordmasters are pretty good. They are a good unit all by themselves. And they're going to get healing. They're going to get Shield of Safri. They're going to get lots of buffs. lots of heals, lots of synergy. Like their swordmasters are in just as good a position, if not better, than hammers, because you can't heal hammers. You can put a unit of swordmasters under a freaking whatever that Star of Avalorn and heal them right back up by like 1,000 hit points in 15 seconds. Can't do that with hammers. 5802. You know, magic, like the other factions having magic can just really, especially healing, can make such a big difference. 40-56 for the Slayers there. 1140. 1. I'm really impressed with how the Slayers are doing here. Really. 2 archers are dead units. Don't even bother with them. Bolt throwers just enough. Yeah, bolt throwers do good against archers. That's for sure. Like, this is where bolt throwers really excel. Is they're really good at taking down infantry as they come in, because they have a pretty good fire rate and they're pretty accurate. And then when the infantry hits that front line, they can transition to lords or are ranged very nicely. They did just enough to really get the job done. I have been darn impressed with these Slayers. $57.16. The thing is, they get the job done pretty fast, an average of 2 minutes, which is actually way faster than anything else. 3603. $9.37. They didn't lose gold in any of those matchups, and they won them in an average of 130 seconds. So that's very, very interesting that the Slayers do so good against Spearmen. That would tell you, if you had an opening and you had Slayers that were planned for the back line, and he brought in some, and he was hanging back with the back line, you might be worth it to bring those Slayers in to fight Spearmen, to beat them up and then go to the back line. I don't know. It's only 47 gold, but they win fast. Like, they get the job done in a minute, in 2 minutes. Huh. We'll look at the Grumbling Guard. The Grumbling Guard will be very good here. Hopefully. So end the battle. Bolt throwers can also deplete high elf units. No sword masters for you, my friend. Yeah. Bolt throwers are very nice against sword masters. Like, they're good against all armored units, actually. They really are. Okay, Grumbling Guard. Here we go. Now, the Grumbling Guard should actually do extremely well against the Spearmen. We'll see if they can. We'll see if they can pull more value than the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. But like you said, Gabba, that like these guys, Grumbling Guard 7 kills, Spearman 0. You know, it's going to take a long time for the Spearmen, like 10, 12 to 0, 13, 15 to 0. You know, 20 to 0. They have 0 kills still. 30 to 0. Like, the Grumbling Guard are kicking the crap out of these guys, and they should. The Spearman, like, this is like, it's almost like a buffed up, well, it's not almost like, it's exactly a buffed up Longbeard. 0 kills to 50. Crazy how good the Grumbling Guard are here. And they have their aura. 0 kills by the Spearman. 56-18. But you notice, whoops, I'm going to say this is 48. 56-18. Still took 210 seconds compared to 130 by the Slayers. 5618? 5618. Graveguard, or sorry, Graveguard. Grumbling Guard, 5607. And Spearman, 1170. 266 gold. That's going to be really close to the value that the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass pulled. We'll see if they maintain that sort of killing speed. Gaba, fun thing, I have my miners blasting charge directly on my bolt throwers, and they rout any infantry dumb enough to charge them. Miners with blasting charges could do that. It's actually quite nice. You hit them with your, if you actually hit them with your artillery and debuff them, they'll take some damage, be debuffed by 10, then hit them with the blasting charges, you might rout them right away. Rematch. Be interesting to see how the Grumbling Guard do. Maybe the Grumbling Guard are an option compared to hammers. That's a pretty extreme value right there. I mean, winning that fight without losing a model. All right. Well, yes, I have 51 melee defense versus 22 melee attack. So it's just enough to make it so the Spearmen are hitting 8% of the time. And they need 8 hits to get 1 kill. So, essentially, yeah, I think it's 8 hits to get 1 kill. It's just like some crazy number like that. Which is why that 100 armor is so powerful against them. That's 0 kills. Gab, I don't really like grudge throwers though. They just suck in my opinion. You know, in anybody else's army, grudge throwers would be awesome. In the Dowie artillery is so damn good, grudge throwers suck compared to everything else. You put grudge throwers in any other army, they'll be happy. The grudge throwers. Well, if grudge throwers have a niche, it's they have a high arc of fire compared to cannons, bolt throwers, and organ guns, and they have that good range. So they have the good range and the high arc of fire. So that's their potential niche, is to be an artillery unit on a map with terrain, because the Goblobber is excellent, but it has that 16 leadership debuff. 1 kill for the Spearman there. 55-38. Whoops. $55.38. So that took a little longer. Graveguard or Grumbling Guard 5554. Spearman 1017. And that is a victory. So pulled 271 gold out of that. That's a really, really good rematch. Yeah, it's just like flame cannons. Sort of the flame cannon niche is against wood elves. And that's it. I mean, you might be able to claim flame cannon could be a niche against the vampire counts. But vampire counts could just, they can disrupt your backline so easy. Like with bats and with Vargulfs, and I mean it's, they have no problem disrupting the backline, so it's hard to bring a flame cannon to a vampire counts build, but you could. Like I think I've done it. I might have done that against Jen on occasion. I can't remember. We had a fight with dwarfs versus the vampire counts. I'm not sure if I brought a flame cannon. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I can't remember. But it's possible to bring it in that matchup. It's also possible to bring it in the Norska matchup. But I mean, that's like against Norska and Vampire Counts, you want something that can bring anti-large. So you'd probably want to bring a bolt thrower more than a flame cannon. Where the flame cannon really is great is against wood elves. Because wood elves have no artillery, and flame cannon wreck them so hard. 5620. Grumbling Guard, 5535. Spearman, 1172. 1. Gaba. Let's not forget how much more value the Grumbling Guard got just by standing their ground after nuking the Spearman. Standing around after nuking the Spearman. The Grumbling Guard are good. Like, they just, you know what's funny is a Grumbling Guard have that aura buff. You have to be inside the 40 meters, and it comes every, I don't know, 30 seconds or whatever it is. Let me see. Every 25 seconds for 5 seconds, you get a 9% vigor. Whereas you can easily do that map wide with the Skaven for minus 9% vigor to the entire enemy army. With just as a passive you put on your lord every time he casts a spell. Like, when they nerfed the Grumbling Guard from 9% to 18%, or 18% to 9%, it was a giant nerf. Now, they're probably costed about right for their vigor, and their vigor does do good in battle, but, like, I don't know. I guess they were. You had to pick them every time. They were so good, but yeah. Gaba. I like flame cannons. They're so fun and really good at killing chaff and what. Yeah, flame cannons are lots of fun. And flame cannons are not just good at killing chaff. Flame cannons will wreck a unit of swordmasters or like a high-level infantry like that. They absolutely demolish them. Like, they even wreck, like, looser formation high-level units. Like, Chosen they would kill. Like, flame cannons are worth every penny of 1,250 gold. The problem is their range is so low, you can't bring them against anything with artillery because they'll be absolutely demolished. So they're just a really high risk reward unit, and there's only a few matchups you can bring them safely. And there's only one matchup where I think they're great, and that's against the Wood Elves. Which may change if Wood Elves ever get, you know, maybe someday Wood Elves will get like something with 300 range, and then it'll be bye-bye flame cannon. But 5629. But maybe someday they'll buff up a Master Engineer so you can actually defend your artillery. Like, I know they have entrenchment, but it's really crap right now, entrenchment. Only like 22% ward save. If you wanted entrenchment to be good, it would have to be a lot more and for a lot longer. Or on an AoE and a passive, so where it's always 22%. Graveguard, 5610. Spearman, 1123. A rematch. Yeah, the beauty of flame cannons is you only need one good shot on anything with low leadership, and it instantly routs everything. You know, you might be able to bring that flame cannon against Bretonnia. I was just thinking, like, trebuchets are never going to hit a flame cannon, so you might be able to bring a flame cannon against Bretonnia, because it would actually completely demolish foot squires, because foot squires are very tightly packed. Don't get me started on that Emmy. So much wasted potential. Yeah, the Master Engineer. It bugs me, but I mean, I don't know. I've been making videos about the Master Engineer since 4 months after the game came out, maybe. So for about 3 years now, I've been making videos on the Master Engineer. I mean, he's so much wasted potential. It could be such an interesting unit for the Dowie, but no, it's just not to be. 5625. And it's not like it's not like a CA doesn't know that, because when they brought out the gunnery white, they made the gunnery white everything the Master Engineer isn't, in terms of its capability. Like, it can reload the ammo of something that does 30% more damage when it's got full ammo. You know, it's got some bound abilities. Now, the Gunnery White's abilities are not that great, but it's like got 60% improvement to accuracy. It's just, and it's so much better than the Master Engineer, and the Gunnery Right still is hardly ever used. That's how much they would have to buff the Master Engineer to make him really good. So 5625, 5682. Spearman. Oops. 1242. Look at that DPS those spears are doing. 4. That is really atrocious. Where's the drive? Well, I guess they did 5 here and 4.7. Okay, in the battle rematch. Wizard Lizard. Hey, man. Good to see you. Good time to go to work. Hey, have a good day at work. Enjoy it. Make sure you get yourself a good coffee and are fully alert and awake before you start to dig in. Yeah, no, that's my morning routine. God, I love coffee. You can see that that just the buff for themselves is making quite a difference because they're still active. Now they're going to get a buff here. Going to watch it. And there it goes. Well, they still kicked over to Winded even though they were in the middle of a buff. Interesting. I mean, they're still essentially defeating the entire unit of Spearmen without losing a unit for the most part. Or losing one. Wizard Lid, I'm gonna burn alive because I work outside, but thanks anyways. Have fun, people. You have a good one, man. Stay cool then. Stay cool. Lots of water, lots of ice. Have a good one. 55, 56. 55, 56. 55, 56. Okay, and 55, 19. 19. And the Spearman finished with 1133. Okay, and that's a victory. Okay, and one more. Yeah, where the Grumbling Guard are going to be tested is versus the White Lions. I mean, if they beat the White Lions bad enough, they might be worth bringing because they have such good mass. They have that 200 mass, and they have the charge defense against large. Yeah, charge defense against large. So they might be a little more effective in the back line than Hammerers. I guess just in their ability to do more damage to the to chariots as well. Like 36 melee attack is still not great, but it is a little bit better, and they have a little more melee defense, so they take more punishment. So 56-27 and 57-94. Spearman finished with 1050, and that's a win. So they averaged 270 gold. That is really, really good, and the best so far. 270 gold. Very, very good. So now we're going to get to hammers. Okay, and that battle. We'll see how the hammers will obviously crush them. But we'll see how they do compared. We'll see how much value the spearmen pull compared to the grumbling guard, just out of curiosity. Okay, and see if they can get a kill on the hammers. Hammers do have more health per unit, so. And hammers are gonna freaking wreck them. Destroy them fast because they got so much weapon strength, and they got great melee attack. So this really shouldn't take long. And boom. Call it 49. And V. All right. Whew. Right away. The 18 melee attack. Holy. They are absolutely mowing through these spearmen. I wonder if they're going to get it done faster than the Slayers. Looks like it. They got one kill, the spearmen. How many? They only got the one kill. All right, 57-46. So about the same speed as the Slayers. That's really interesting. Hammers finished with 60-67. Well, they're going to pull a ton of value. They only lost 800 health. Spearmen finished with 1180. 263. Rematch. Gaba, I actually tried to have a value off chevrons thing going on. The Grumbling Guard actually beat the elite White Lion unit. Really? Pure Main. Interesting. They're really close to the values. Pure Main 1100 or are they 1000? I thought Pure Main maybe was 1100. But it's interesting that they beat the Pure Main company. See, the Pure Main's debuff is not really... The Pure Main's debuff is exactly like the Peak Gate Guard's debuff. It's not great. Because giving an armor sundering unit, an armor piercing unit armor sundering doesn't matter. You have to synergize it with another unit to make it useful. And it's not that easy to do. Like, the only way to do it is to send in your Peak Gate Guard with a non-armor piercing Lord or hero. So a Peak Gate Guard would synergize really well with a Thane. But the unit that they're going to synergize well with, or they're going to beat the crap out of, is another great weapon unit, and the Thane will get wrecked. Even though the Thane will be doing more damage, the great weapon unit he's facing is going to wreck the Thane. You know, maybe they'll work together. I could see. Could put them up against something like a Chaos Warrior, a great weapon just for fun. So 58. Well, that was pretty quick. 6103. And Heil Spearman, 821. Okay. Rematch. PK Guard is perfect with Thorgrim. Yeah, well, they both do magic damage, so you probably would want PK Guard with, like, if you were to synergize, PK Guard do magic damage, so you'd want them to fight with something that doesn't do magic damage, I think, to get ultimate synergy. But like, I think PK Guard would synergize really well with Belagar, because Belagar has that plus 27 melee defense and the charge defense against all. And then Belagar has a 8 unit splash attack, so the PK Guard debuffing for Belagar to hit would be pretty good too. Match made in heaven, no competition. Yeah, maybe. Like, Thorgrim is just a buff, is really good at buffing everything. Like, he's so good at buffs. So I mean, buffing up your highest DPS unit with plus 9 melee attack is always going to be a good choice. For sure. 57-47. Okay, 61-46. Spearman, 1151. Okay. In battle, rematch. Yeah, I think Thorgrim magic only ignores physical resist, not armor. Yeah, true, it only ignores physical resist. But that's what I'm saying, like if you had... Well, I guess 2 magic damages together is good. They'll synergize well as well. But Belagar would be another potential choice to run with a Peak 8 guard. He wouldn't be bad. Maybe not as good as Thorgrim, but he wouldn't be bad. Because Peak 8 guard can debuff, and they'll let Thorgrim hit a lot harder, and they'll let Belagar hit a lot harder too. Because Belagar hits 8 units just like in his splash attack, just like Thorgrim. Belagar and Thorgrim both hit 8 units in their splash attacks. I think Grombrindle is like 7, and Ungrim is like 6 or 5 or something like that in the splash. 57, 53. 60-45. Spearman, 1072. And it's a victory. Rematch. Yeah, the PK guard. See, the thing is that there is no ethereal unit that has armor. But there are some units that have a lot of physical resistance that have armor as well. That have some physical resistance. That have armor. Okay. I'm just trying to think what units are like that. I think one of the Bretonnian Cav is like that. Has like 30% physical resist. Plus decent armor. The problem is, like, a lot of things that have physical resist don't have very good armor. So a 30 armor debuff might not make it. It's just like Savage Orcs. They have 20% physical resist, but they don't have any armor. So the armor sundering wouldn't do anything. Okay, 57-55. Pretty consistent results there. Obviously, when you get the outside edges of units one to the other, you get very consistent performance from both. 61-24. I mean by that I mean very low standard deviation. Spearman, 1190, and another victory. Okay, in the battle rematch. Definitely Belagar is cheap, and the PK guards are just perfect on their own. Yeah, best infantry in the game by far. PK guard are good. I never did test. I mean, I never did test all the regiments renown. PK guard versus what is that unit from the Dark Elves? That's their regiment of renown. That'd be an interesting fight. And PK guard versus the Crimson Killers would also be an interesting fight. See, I think the Crimson Killers would beat the PK guard. Crimson Killers are, I think, the best infantry unit in the game right now. Just in a one-on-one fight. But I'd have to test it. Hammers and Spearmen. I could test that right now. Just for fun. PK guard versus Crimson Killers, and PK guard versus that Dark Elf unit. 5805. So 5805. 5805. Hammer is 6313. And Spearman 1150. And that's 1. Okay, one more battle, rematch. Tested the PK guard, beat the Killers. PK guard, no, the PK guard don't beat the Crimson Killers. There's no way. I've tested that myself. But I'll test it again. You know, I'll test it again. I tested the Peak Gate Guard. I tested all of the Regiments of Renown before I did my 901 gold testing because I wanted a unit that beat everything. And the Crimson Killers at that time was before they were buffed. So it was the Dark Elf unit that ended up being the toughest unit in the game. And they still lost one match to the... They still lost one battle to the Chaos Warriors with great weapons. And then the Crimson Killers got buffed. And they just put them over the moon. They are so good. But we'll test them right now. 58. We'll test them. There's no sense in debating what we don't need to debate. We can just test it. 58. So 58.77 for the hammers. 58.77. Okay. 10.57. 7 and 1. So they pulled 275 gold at 146 gold per minute. See, that's the beauty of that number right there, which is really important. How much gold per minute? So excellent. We're going to look at Dragonback Slayers next. But first, we're going to do some quick tests to see these Peak Gate Guard versus some of the other elite Regiments of Renown. Okay, so let's grab our Peak Gate Guard. And where are those Dark Elves? See, those are very good units. Can't remember the name of them, though. Sisters of Slaughter, no. No, that's wrong. Where are they? Here they are. Blades of the Blood Queen. Those Blades of the Blood Queen are a very good unit. We'll just test them out. That's the unit I did all my testing with, the Blades of the Blood Queen, but see, the Blades of the Blood Queen have that anti-infantry, so they're super good. And that's why I used them for all my testing, because I wanted to see... I wanted a unit that would beat everything. And the Blades of the Blood Queen got 75, 75. Yeah, the Blades of the Blood Queen are crushing the Peak Gate Guard. So it's not even close. That's like the thing that Blades of the Blood Queen have, they have a good bonus versus infantry. They have 14 bonus versus infantry. That means they have 58 weapon strength with that. And 67 melee attack. Like, they just crush the Peak Gate Guard. Not even close. Yeah, well, they both have the same formation, Gaba. There's no difference. They both have 75 models, have the same formation. But the Crimson Killers are even better. So, you look at the Crimson Killers. And where are they? They're even better than the Peak Gate, than the... but they're 1550. They're even better. Then the current Crimson Killers, what they have is they have very good weapon strength, but they have really good animations. So this is one of those hidden things. Like, they're really good and they have some splash attack. They have this wide formation, so they're going to wrap a little bit. But they have really, really good animations. So we're going to look, and you're going to see... You can see how big they are, right? And how far they get... How far they... Like, look how far they swing with their animations. If you look really close... Like, look how far that guy's swinging. So he's going to swing really, really far. And you see, he hit this guy way back here. This guy has to step a long way forward to get him back with that hammer. So these Blackworks have excellent animations. And you see they're they're demolishing the Peak Gate Guard. Like, it's just not even going to be close. It's going to be worse than the Blades of the Blood Queen. So now the Crimson Killers, they're definitely the meatiest in the game now, and they're better than the Blades of the Blood Queen, and so they beat the Peak Gate Guard up pretty easily. 61 to 32. Right now, I get it. You change the formations, that will change the way that plays out, but you also got to change the opposite formation as well. So, I mean, Crimson Killers. So let's say we take this back and we go here, and we try and change the Peak Gate Guard formation to a wide formation to be wider than the Crimson Killers. You know, I don't know if that's the right thing to do against the Crimson Killers, because Crimson Killers have a better bonus, but we could change it. And now the Peak Gate Guard are ever so slightly wider than these Crimson Killers. The Crimson Killers have a better charge bonus, so the Crimson Killers are going to do even better. Yeah, they're winning. They're just crushing them. There you go. It goes even faster. Because Crimson Killers have a better charge bonus of 29 versus 18. So they beat them up pretty bad. Now, as soon as you start buffing them, then you start changing the math, obviously. But I mean, the Crimson Killers and Crimson Killers right now are the best melee infantry unit in the game, one-on-one. And then right after that is that whatchamacallit from the Dark Elves. I always forget their freaking name. I mean, if it's not a dwarf, I don't really care what their name is, but Blades of the Blood Queen. And the Blades of the Blood Queen is because they have a huge bonus versus infantry of 14, and they have Frenzy. They do have Guardian too, which is crazy. Like, they have so much utility compared to for 1500, they're better than the Peak 8 Guard. They have a huge anti-infantry bonus. They have Frenzy, so they have immunity to psychology. They also have Guardian, so they can guard a unit within them. Plus, they have Murderous Mastery when their get leadership comes down below, and they can cause fear to an opposite unit. Like, this unit is not only better than the Peak 8 Guard straight up, it has way more utility. Like, you'd have to give the Peak 8 Guard 15% protection to anything, plus you'd have to give it some other ability, and it still would be, prove me wrong so hard, Gabba. Okay. I mean, I don't know what you're going to prove. I mean, I just showed you the test. That's like the Peak 8 Guard lose to the Blades of the Blood Queen. Like, how would you do the test different? The Peak 8 Guard don't beat the Crimson Killers or the Blades of Blood Queen, no matter how you're going to put that out. I mean, you can buff them with another unit, but straight up, they'll just lose every time. Okay, we'll get the Spearmen. And who are we in next? We're on Dragonback Slayers. Okay, so the Dragonback Slayers should actually do really good here. Because if the base Slayers did good, the Dragonback Slayers should do even better because they have better stats and they have 20% physical resist. So they should really crush those Spearmen. So we'll see. Okay, listen, I don't know how you're going to change that test. I mean, that's a pretty simple test. But, I mean, that the test that I made is perfectly repeatable. You can do that test 100 times and it'll come out the same for everyone. There's no one will be able to. But if maybe there's some way to change it, but you have to do a buff. You can't just have those two units go straight up and look at that. Holy crap. That is really, really good. 58-23. Whoops, I'm going to call that. Where's the other Slayers? 50? Yeah, we'll call that 50. 58. Okay. Copy. Alright. So we got 58-23. 58-23. 5434. 1374. Okay. Wow, 193 gold. Really, really good. I'm really impressed. Like, I just added Dragonback Slayers to my High Elf lineup. I replaced the Giant Slayers. I don't know if it was a good choice, but well, if there's Spearmen, they'll crush them. I'm really happy with that, actually. That that they do so well against Spearmen. I would have thought that the Spearmen would have been able to pull value against the Slayers, but obviously not. For sure they'll do better against the Giant Slayers. because Giant Slayers have no special defenses or anything. Like the Giant Slayers are super vulnerable to high elf missiles because they don't have that bronze shield like the regular Slayers do, and the Dragonback Slayers have 20% physical resistance. Well, I guess they have fire resistance and magic and charge defense against large. Like there's all kinds of good things about the Dragonback Slayers. 5811. The thing is, they don't do damage as fast as the Giant Slayers. Giant Slayers are kings of damage against big things. 5191. And 967. Rematch. I wonder how the Dragonback Slayers are going to do against White Lions. That's another big test. Like, I think the White Lions are the most important infantry in this matchup to be able to defeat. Because it's actually not as hard to deal with Swordmasters of Hoeth, I think. Swordmasters of Hoeth, I mean, like, they're so expensive. You can only have a few of them, and, you know, bolt throwers, like, Gabo's saying bolt throwers crush Swordmasters of Hoeth. They're not as good as against White Lions because they have that loose formation. Same with Thunders, same with Trollhammer torpedoes, same with everything. White Lions, that loose formation matters. Plus they have 30% missile resist, so they're actually pretty good. 5805. But this has given me hope that Slayers might be able to do some damage to White Lions. But White Lions have good armor, so maybe not. We'll see. So 5805. Dragonback Slayers. 5347. Spearman 1216. Okay. Good battle. Rematch. Yeah, I'd love to. The one thing I do like about Dragonback Slayers is they do have that slow, but they also have the weak to fire. I do have, and that's one of the other things. That I do have 2 brimstone guns in my build, and it's hard to get the Dragonback Slayers to synergize with the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, but it's not that hard to get them to synergize with brimstone guns. Brimstone guns can really get, because they're going to both be attacking the same target, like chariots and stuff like that. 5816. So they can synergize pretty easily in the course of in the course of normal gameplay. You don't have to force it. 5115. 1104. 1. Averaging sort of like that 180 some, probably 180 right now. Is pretty good for the gold side of it. Yeah, this testing starts to go really fast once you obviously get to the higher units. I mean, I know what the result is going to be obviously every time. I'm really looking for any sort of fine differences, particularly when it gets to evaluating these units versus White Lions. And then when you evaluate them in terms of chevrons. That's where this making sure to be thorough like this could matter. It probably won't, but it could. Okay, Drymax Slayers 51-55. And High Elves 978. 1. Okay, in the battle. Rematch. All right. Your Dragonback Slayers, Giant Slayers, then Ironbreakers, Peak Guard, and then Norgrimling's Ironbreakers, and then the test versus the Spearmen will be done. And then it's on to the White Lions. The White Lions are obviously the most important. Because I think that's the unit that you want to either find the best unit to just hold against them, or you want to find the best way to beat them. Now, Hammerers do beat them pretty solidly, but they're a 300 gold differential, so it's an expensive way to beat them. But that might be the right way. And Yumeis has 2 Hammerers in his build, and I imagine they're just for some of those big, heavy, armor-piercing moments. So I'm thinking about putting that in my build. I really don't know. Because Trollhammer torpedoes, you got to be able to protect them, and if you can protect them, those Trollhammers are awesome. 58-25. And it was 58-21. It was actually Rourkboss that put me onto those Trollhammer torpedoes. And, I mean, I'm learning to use them. You watch him play with them, he's ridiculously good. The way he makes those things work. It's crazy. 54-35. Okay, Spearman 111-002. 1. Okay, and one more test or rematch. Yeah, I was playing a little bit of testing with White Lions recently. I wanted to test them in the forest, and man, so White Lions in the forest beat Chaos Warriors with great weapons. And like, decently. So just as a quick reminder, always to stay the hell away from forests when you're fighting High Elves. Just stay clear. Because those White Lions get a very significant bonus when they're in the forest. 58-12. Okay, Drymax Slayers, 53-51. Spearmen, 1096. And they win. So 191 gold they pulled on average. Pretty solid. They beat them in 96 seconds. Huh. So Hammers at 1100 beat them in 114 seconds. Dragonback Slayers at 1150 beat them in 96 seconds. And regular Slayers beat them in 130. Huh. Dragonback Slayers crush them. It'd be nice to be able to use them in that case. I would never want to put my Dragonback Slayers up against High Elf Spearmen on purpose, because you need them in that back line, but it's nice to know they're very, very capable against Spearmen. So if you ever see Spearmen coming into your back line and you have Dragonback Slayers there, don't be afraid to put them into the Spearmen, because they'll clean them up really fast, and they won't be outvalued. Oh yeah, Giant Slayers it is. So let's get those Giant Slayers loaded up. $66-2. So the Giant Slayers have 30 defense. These guys have 32. It'll be interesting to see if the Giant Slayers lose more than like 2 or 3 against the Spearmen. Probably not, because they'll kill them so fast. They have such... Well, even against regular things, they have really good weapon strength. And against large things, they're ridiculous. So I set it at 50 seconds. Yeah, 50 is correct. Well, I guess they have 32 charge wounds, which is excellent. Well, they got 1 kill. Holy, they chewed. Look at how fast they chewed through them. 5902. 48 seconds. Holy crap. 5550. And the Spearman finished with 1694. 178 gold and a win. Interesting. It's the whole Slayer's performance versus High Elf Spearman has been surprising. I'm really interested to see how they're going to do against those White Lions. Like even if base Slayers are not, there's no way base Slayers are going to beat White Lions, but if they can hold for a really long time, maybe they're worth it. I don't know. If they beat the crap out of Slayers or Spearmen so bad, but then they're always going to lose to archers. That's one of the problems, right? 58. 5197. Spearman 1504. Only 130 gold. Yeah, they're definitely, you can see the amount of value they're pulling is going down pretty fast. But here's the thing, the next unit coming up, the Ironbreakers, are going to pull a massive amount of value versus the Spears. But they're going to take 4 minutes to do it. That's the problem with Ironbreakers. Ironbreakers are value machines. They're like almost every fight they're in, they pull really good value. The problem with them is it takes so long to do it. That's why they're so dangerous in terms of bringing, because they make your army a lot more narrow. Now they can be awesome for sure, but they can be risky. 5827. Giant Slayers 4602. And Spearman 868. Only 76 gold there. All right. Rematch. I don't think I'll get this testing done tonight. I might get the Ironbreakers done. I at least want to see one test with the Ironbreakers and see what kind of value they pull against these Spearmen. It should be outstanding. Like, there should be no way a Spearman kills an Ironbreaker. Not even close. 5851. 4976. I'm definitely getting tired. 1581. But must keep testing. Need to find out Ironbreakers. Okay. Rematch. This is so good. I think actually Ironbreakers do really, really good against White Lions too. 5823. Yeah, maybe Ironbreakers are a possibility. I don't know. The problem is Ironbreakers will do pretty badly against White Lion. Swordmasters of Hoeth. But you can focus Swordmasters of Hoeth. I mean, that's a doable thing. 5823. 5152. Thing is, for every 3 iron breakers, you can bring 7 spearmen. That's sort of that value starts to change a lot. We got 51, 52. And spearmen have what, 995? 995. Okay. 2 more tests. Then we get an iron breaker test. Well, I got like 4 kills. Yeah, 4 kills. 58, 32. 32. 49, 57. 1047. 1047. Okay, in battle. And rematch. Ah. Come on, boys. Get the job done. I want to see those iron breakers go to work. Not that charge defense against all with iron breakers is going to matter. Spearmen have 4 charge bonus, but it's not nothing. Okay, 58-31. And Giant Slayers finished with 4775, 4775. And Spearmen with 1187. Another victory. So 119 gold. So that's, you can see how far down that gold went. Really. Slayers, basic Slayers only got 47. 191 from the Dragonback Slayers down to 119 with the Giant Slayers. Now here's going to go back up again. I'm sure of it. Could be wrong, but we'll see. I think the Ironbreakers are going to pull incredible value here. Because they might even be able to rout them just with their blasting charges, but just out of curiosity, I'm going to try that. Where's my Ironbreakers? Okay. Just going to see if they can rout them. Because Ironbreakers' blasting charges do more damage than the Echoran Miners' blasting charges. And the Echoran Miners routed them with 2.5. So I wonder if the Ironbreakers can rout them with 2. Just out of curiosity. Can they rout them? Whew. Answer is yes, they can. Huh. Down to 990 health with just their blasting charges. This is one of the reasons Ironbreakers are better than they never perform as good in a battle as they actually are. Because if you could get their blasting charges off every time, like you get a unit of Spearmen, 500 gold is gone. You know, it's just off the map. And but it's so hard to get those blasting charges off. You know? Like, yeah, that's why you need something in front to just delay it for a bit. So I've tried little formations where I'll put, like, to Gabba's point, I'll put a Thane out front just to slow them down, and they're really, really good. But it's really hard to do it. So I'm gonna rematch that, and we'll just let them do what they're gonna do, just so that I make a repeatable test, a test that I can repeat over time. Okay. Start the battle. And boom. 5950, we're going to call that. Copy. V. Well, it looked like they're helpful. It looked like they were going to give up right there. But I mean, they're not even dropping the health at all. There's no way they kill even one Ironbreaker, is there? No. Okay, so 5730. Ironbreaker 6972. Spearman 1243. 352 gold. Like, that's crazy how much gold differential they got there. And that's the thing, like, they're really awesome. You know, Ironbreakers there. But, you know, it took them 140 seconds to get that. Now, if they get both their blasting charges off, they rout that Spearman without even a fight. It's just, they're just gone. Right? And that's probably less, well, for sure it's less than a minute, that first fight. So, that's always the problem with Ironbreakers. I mean, if you can get their blasting charges off on, if you could only maneuver them so you could get those blasting charges off on chaff like that, but it's hard to do. It's hard to get their blasting charges off. Often you'll find Ironbreaker will still be there at the end of the battle and it'll still have blasting charges left. It just hasn't been able to get them off. So I'm going to save that. 352 gold, which doesn't surprise me because it's against chaff. I just want one quick before I go to bed. I just gotta know. Gotta know how our Slayers gonna do against White Lions. Just gotta know this. How much health can they pull off of them? And then I'm going to try Dragonback Slayers. I'm just really curious how much value they can pull here. Yeah, White Lion's got 90 armor. That is a lot. Oh yeah, that's not great. The White Lions are definitely winning. They're not even a minute in and it's almost over. So they're not even going to hold them for a long time either is the problem. Well, yeah. Not even 2 minutes. 58-17. They held them. So not even 2 minutes, eh? Oops. So is it concede defeat? Yes. In battle. So 36 they took. About half health. So how are Dragonback Slayers going to do? I mean, of course I'm going to do the proper tests on everything just to really see where it is, because there'll be sort of chevron optimizations here. I wonder if Dragonback Slayers can get the job done. Maybe. It's close. It's close. It's really close. I think they're going to win. So Dragonback Slayers are going to get the job done. Probably not cost efficiently, but they are going to get the job done. Yep. Quit battle. End battle. Okay. The Grumbling Guard should kick the tar out of them too. They should. They might not though. We'll see. Not as convincing as I'd hoped it would be. Okay, that's coming along a little bit better. But it's taken quite some time. Minus 1,000, yeah. Is the Grumbling Guard worth 200 gold more than the White Lions? It'll be close. It'll be close. That'll be close. Okay, just out of curiosity, how are these Giant Slayers going to do? These Giant Slayers might actually beat the White Lions. I mean, they are 1,200 gold versus 800, so you need 2 Giant Slayers to 3 White Lions. So you would have to technically beat them with sort of a third of their health left at least, before they'd actually pull positive value. They might win. Well, yeah, it looks like they're going to win. Oh yeah, they're going to win easily. Holy. Okay. So, if we look there, they have more than half. They have little less than half health left. They have more than half their models left. They beat those White Lions. Huh. In that battle. Let's just see how those hammers are going to do. Let's see if the hammers end up with half health and half models left. They should. Hammers should crush them. This is sort of what the hammers are meant to do. They plow through their armor like this. Yeah. The hammers have better melee defense than the Giant Slayers too, but I don't think they're going to beat them as bad. Nope. They have less than half health and less than half their units. They are worth 1,100 gold. Just out of curiosity. Can those guys hold? I doubt it. Like, that's the problem with going. Even though Longbeards are awesome, chevroned up they're awesome. White Lions are armor piercing, so I don't think they'll be able to hold. But they have obviously really good stat differential. They have 63 melee defense. Well, they resisted the charge, but now they're losing. Oh. Well, it's not too bad. Well, they're going to win this. Huh. They are going to win this. Well, isn't that interesting. Well, now they don't have their martial prowess, so the Longbeards are going to crush them. Huh. So if a Longbeard... So we know there's a local optimum at 6 chevrons. So if a Longbeard at 9 chevrons can beat a White Lion, can a Longbeard at 6 chevrons? Because that's that optimum we found against the Saurus Warriors. Like 56 to 30. That's pretty good. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Here, 826. If Longbeards at 826 can beat the White Lions of Trace, I mean this test is pretty much over. And that's the level, right? Yeah, maybe not. And if they were strung out, the white lines would do even better off the charge. So it looks like the white lines are going to win here. Well, no. I was going to say the Longbeards look like they're coming back a little bit, but not quite. White lines are winning that pretty handily. Whoa, wait a minute. The Longbeards are coming back here. This is a fourth quarter comeback. Whoa, Longbeards won. How about that? So Longbeards with 6 chevrons can beat White Lions. Mind you, if I strung them out, the White Lions would win. Rematch. Just out of curiosity. Morning, Sven. Your name is on everyone's lips these days. I've been watching PewDiePie's Minecraft playthrough, and it has a character named Sven in there. So this is the Work Boss special. Can I make the Longbeards do even better here? Are they attacked in the flank? Nope. So they avoid all the damage of that charge and delay everything a little bit here. Sven, damn, I thought they wouldn't find me. This is interesting because it's super close. I mean, obviously in an actual battle, I mean, you have chariots in the back, and you have all kinds of shenanigans going on, but like this 6 chevrons is what you need for your Longbeards against the against the Lizardmen too. It looks like they're gonna win here, and they win handily. Oh yeah, they're crushing the White Lions now. Well, what do you know? They have almost half their models left after defeating White Lions. Longbeards. It's a 26 gold cost differential. Yep, 26. They cost 26 more, but they can beat the White Lions. See, that's that same spot because you look here. If you go down 1 chevron, you get 3 stat points. So 33 to 56, go up 1, you get 34 and 58. So it's actually a nice spot. Plus, you got the leadership and the vigor, and it starts to make a difference. Well, we're going to keep doing the testing for everything, and we'll finish off testing. We'll find some more kind of local optimums. So, I mean, we've already found, if we go over to the spreadsheet, for against Spearmen in particular, I think kind of just basic dwarf warriors can get the job done, efficiently. They'll win they're winning sort of 80%, 86% of the time, and they're 50 gold cheaper. Maybe it's worthwhile to bring a couple of dwarf warriors, base dwarf warriors, bring them in your back line, leave them to defend artillery or whatever. And if you see spearmen coming, you just rush them up to fight the spearmen. And whatever was going to fight the spearmen can come back and defend your back line. Because you're going to win value there. And, I don't think a high elf player is going to spend a whole lot of effort trying to change the fate of their high elf spearmen in a fight with dwarf warriors. They're going to focus their chariots and their fight elsewhere. So you can bring a more powerful unit back to help defend against chariots or just to redeploy it to help against sword masters or white lions of trace, that kind of thing. So, our dwarf warriors, your basic dwarf warriors. Dwarf warriors with great weapons, on the other hand, lose every fight to high elf spearmen. I don't know why. They shouldn't, but they do. There's no reason. Dwarf warriors with great weapons have good armor. They don't have any other abilities like charge defense against large or anything like that. Whereas high elf spearmen have charge defense against large. They have a bonus versus large, and they have a silver shield. And they're the same mass, both 150. So I don't know why our dwarf warriors. That just shows you how bad dwarf warriors with great weapons are, really. So, anyways, I think we'll end the stream there. When I come back, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested in finishing this testing and sort of finding some more local optimums. But when we come back, we'll finish off the Ironbreakers, the Peak Gate Guard, and the Norgleman's Ironbreakers. Then we'll have completed the High Elf Spearmen. Then we're going to do all this testing again. This is what we've done today. We're going to do, I guess, what do we have? 4, 2, no, 1 night. We have 150 tests ish we did today. 140 maybe. I don't know. Well, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16 equals 112. So maybe we did like 80 tests tonight. Wasn't that many. I thought it felt like more. It was a lot. Anyways, we'll end the stream here, and maybe I'll come back tomorrow and finish this off, and hopefully by the end of the week we'll have some interesting information on infantry units to bring against high elves, and we'll flesh out our high elf build. So hope you found that interesting, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.